at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Hi, welcome back. It's Thursday, so Stephen Carleton, First Vice President of Janney Montgomery Scott, is here for a look at finance.
Thanks, Jesse. Good to be here.
How you doing, Steph?
Cold and snowy, but good.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, we're going to talk about finance, so let's start with the weather.
The two are going hand to hand lately. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's talking about the weather, no matter what channel you, whether it's the Weather Channel, whatever it is. We're getting buried by snow, and it's affecting the stock market. It's affecting businesses. It's affecting everybody east of the Mississippi at this point.
Well, what you're telling me, I think 130 Walmarts are closed between the southern tier wrapping up to the northeast.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just Walmarts. We're seeing over 100 Walmarts. You've got the Macy's closing. You know, this is areas of the country that have never really had to deal with snow to this degree. And this year they just have really hit hard.
Oh, I know we're getting tired of it here, but I was up on Broadway here in Saratoga this afternoon, and even the small retail stores, people just won't go out in this kind of weather.
That's the conversation that people have been having, because as we look at the stock market, as people are looking at some of the retail earnings and looking at GDP numbers and some of those things that have come out with unemployment today, and people are looking and saying, how much is weather having an effect? And you're exactly right. It's not just the big box stores like Best Buy or Walmart.
That's right.
It's the little businesses. When people can't get parking, when they don't feel safe to leave the home, they're not going out and shopping. They're going out and doing it online, and that affects businesses, no doubt about it.
That's right. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about New York State and this tax abatement program for business. Let's get an update on that.
So this is something that came about, and really it was a bold Cuomo's idea to really, bring back growth back to New York. And it's kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot of states that are watching us and saying, how is this going to play out? And so if you've been watching television, you've been seeing it on commercials, you've been seeing it in the magazines saying no taxes for 10 years. And really it's to promote development, strategic partnerships with universities and colleges, but maybe at the expense of a lot of small businesses that are still paying local taxes.
Well, that's the hook. I mean, all of us that are small businesses would love to have that kind of tax relaxation, tax abatement. But it is specific, right? And it remains specific to companies in research and development that are actually tied to colleges and universities.
By picking and choosing, exactly like you're saying, by picking and choosing who gets the tax benefits and who doesn't, you pick winners and losers. And I think this is one of the dangers that the state is by playing this, by picking sectors of the state and parts of the economy that they're giving no taxes to and other ones that have to pay the full amount. I don't think that's good. And I think there's a lot of small businesses that said, you know what, if taxes are too high in New York and businesses are leaving, why not just lower the taxes a little bit? Why not give us some tax credits? Why not do something that everybody benefits? And so this is a mixed bag. There's definitely going to be some winners here, but there's a lot of sore losers, so to speak, because they've been here for a long time. People have been employed, by companies that have been here forever, and they're not able to participate.
Well, you know what? And all businesses are subject, of course, to the stock market. Janet Yellen gave a couple of speeches this week that I think sort of stabilized the market. Is that right?
That's a good word for it. Exactly. That's a really good word for it. Janet Yellen, our first chairman of the Federal Reserve as a woman, really exciting to see her do her speech on Tuesday. She didn't do it for an hour or 2 hours. She went on and on and on, and she did a really good job of getting across one word, and that word was continuity. There was a lot of concern when she came in saying, was she going to be like Ben Bernanke? Was she going to be completely different?
Right.
And I think she put a lot of people at ease. The big question that everybody's talking about is, are the policies that the Fed has put in place over the last number of years, are they sustainable? And that's the million-dollar question, because we're looking at GDP numbers that are getting weaker, unemployment numbers a little higher than expected today, and the big concern is if they cut the tapering back, if they slow down some of these things that Janet's doing right now, is that going to bring our economy down? Is it going to slow the economy? And we saw a tough start to the year so far.
Right. Well, of course, everybody's so concerned what quantitative easing actually will do. I think you were saying to me earlier, it's the first time that the government has ever really tried something like this, and nobody really knows where and how and to measure it, pull the plug, whatever might happen, right?
If you think about some of the strategies that the Federal Reserve did, they did some very novel, very unique, because these were unique times. These were unprecedented on many levels. And so it justified them being creative and maybe using some levers and tools that the Fed had never used before.
Right.
The challenge of that is, how do we extract ourselves from that situation? It saved us in the interim, but can we extricate ourselves from this policy? Can we pull back without falling right back in the hole again. And
Sure.
that's going to be Janet's big challenge. She had a great start. I think a lot of people like what they heard. I think the market reacted and signaled that they were relieved. So, a good first week for her, I think, on a lot of levels.
That's great. Now we have one other big national story today that affects me, affects everybody in New York State, and of course this is the talk of Comcast, the country's largest cable provider, buying Time Warner Cable.
It's huge.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I think it's a $50 billion deal.
Yeah, just under $50 billion. This is going to represent about 30% of the viewership in this country. Right. It's bigger than Dish. It's bigger than anything else out there. And there's some serious ramifications from this. There's a lot of things that we broke up AT&T. We broke up some of these major conglomerates years ago because we thought monopolies weren't a good thing. We seem to be going back in that direction again. And so, is it good for the consumer? Is it good for small businesses and people on the internet that want access? There's a lot of unanswered questions. So the news today was huge, and it's going to play out in the Justice Department, the FCC. It's just beginning to unfold.
Well, for our viewers, Comcast has the Boston market, it has the Philly market, has the Chicago market, and Time Warner has markets like New York, our market, and Los Angeles.
Yeah, all the
so
way
when
down
you
to LA.
think about those are the major markets in this country, and if that consolidation of power, of course they say things like then negotiations with content creators would be more efficient and more to the advantage of viewers. But
There's
that
some
always remains to
skepticism.
be seen.
Yeah, the big players like the Netflix, the Googles of the world, Apple, I think they've got enough leverage and enough power to do that. What concerns me more is goes back to the small business owners, goes back to the smaller players that don't have the leverage, that don't have the legal teams to represent and to fight for these kinds of things. So is it going to be good for all content providers other than the 800-pound gorillas? That remains to be seen, and that's the big concern that a lot of people are talking about today. How does that shake out for them?
Right, because when you're talking about video subscribers alone, you're talking about 22 million approximately with Comcast and 11 million for Time Warner. Yeah. Again, that goes back to your point. Then now you're really talking about 30% of the available population. And
like you said earlier, this isn't just television. This is internet broadband connection.
Right, the bundling of services.
This bundling where you get everything all packaged in one. It's very effective, but it locks up a client. It locks up a community. And we've seen with cell phone providers, for example, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon. If there's not competition, prices usually go higher.
So what do you recommend? Do you think Look TV should buy Comcast?
I think Comcast should look at
this is
Look
a great
TV.
You know anybody? Let's give them a call and we'll find out.
I'm sure there's somebody we could call if we needed to.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, we have a couple of local things that we would also like to discuss. Everybody is sort of waiting to see what's going to happen in Glens Falls with Bonaccio Construction and Market Square, I think is the name. Market Center.
Market Center, yeah.
Huge project. No word yet. Everybody's shaking their heads.
A lot of stuff just underneath the surface saying, is it going to be this, is it going to be that? A lot of buzz about it because this could be huge for Glens Falls. This is exactly the kinds of things that we've been looking to kind of push further north, and it definitely looks like there's going to be some substance to it.
Well, we see what the model does in Saratoga.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
Real urban downtown center.
Yeah.
Probably with a supermarket involved and shops and residential. I mean, that's fantastic.
The last 12 to 15 years, this city, the transformation on Broadway, the types of businesses that we attracted, the types of retail stores that we attracted, the type of traffic that we attracted by revitalizing, rebuilding, expanding the city. The possibility for Glens Falls to start participating in that further north, it's exciting for the town.
Well, we sure see that the buzz is headed north towards Glens Falls, and I'm just excited to see, as you are, as many of us are, to see what happens. One last thing. I drive past City Hall every day, and I have a feeling that something's going on with the renovation of the police department.
Or maybe nothing's going on.
Yeah, right.
You stopped hearing the hammers and the saws and everything. You're right. If you drive by City Hall now and you see the snow flying and everything else, you'll notice that it's deadly quiet. The Eastern Builders and Restoration has ceased to work on City Hall, and that's specifically the police department, that public works area. It sounds like that project has been put on halt. Things have stopped, and so we may need to get another contractor. The good news is, it sounds like the city didn't have to pay anything for the work that they did do thus far.
Right. Yeah, we're hearing the same thing. So we'll keep you informed on that. And Steph, thank you again. Look forward
Jesse,
to seeing
always
you
a
next
pleasure.
Thursday.
Thank you very much.
And be careful out there. Will you?
Thanks. You too. Everybody drive safe.
Thanks. To see this interview again, head to looktvonline.com.